let's talk about maybe some reasons why you would want to study abroad, or maybe just fears in general that you think you could never conquer. Like, I don't think I could ever go skydiving. Like, does anyone have anything? Like, I don't think I could ever... Everyone's fearless in this room. Okay. Well, I know sometimes with concerns, it's, oh, I can never go on a plane. I've never ridden on a plane before. Or I can never be away from my friends and family for 3 to 5 months. Or I can never be in a city where I don't speak that language. Well, when I decided to study abroad, I was also much like this room. I was fearless. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm not scared of anything. However, as the week before study abroad got closer, all these little fears started to creep into my mind. Like, I haven't taken Spanish in 2.5 years, and I'm going to be in a city that's all they speak. And none of my close friends or my family will be around. And I think that I'm a decently independent person, but you just kind of wonder, 3 months, none of your good friends, none of your family. It started to frighten me a little. And so then I was wondering, okay, no one's going to get my jokes in Spain, because clearly I won't be able to use sarcasm. So all these little things just start creeping in my mind the week before. And literally I would just be doing tasks, like doing my laundry, packing, and I would just kind of look at my mom and be like, in a week I'm going to be in Madrid. Oh my gosh. So as I got closer, I got more and more excited, as well as these tiny little fears started to creep in. And finally the day came for me to leave Jacksonville, Florida, where I'm from, and I've grown up my whole life in Florida, and head to Madrid. So my mom drives me to the airport. It feels like, I'm going on any trip except I'm going across the Atlantic Ocean to another continent, country, city for 3 months. So I was really excited. The plane ride was smooth. I'd ridden on planes before, so I wasn't too worried about that. I get off, and there were some other UF Gators there in my program, and they were like, yeah, we're going to ride the metro to our homestays. That sounds great. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'm going to ride with you guys. I hadn't really thought about it, and I was going to take a taxi, but I was like, no, let's experience the metro the first day I'm in Madrid. So we all decide we have to truck all the way down the airport, because it was on the other side. We get on the metro. We all knew our stops where our homestays were. So we look at the map, we figure it out, we get on the first metro, and we have to switch once, and mine I have to switch in 2 stops. So I just met these guys, they talked to me, I'd ride the metro with them, and I was like, okay, bye, with like all my luggage and walking away. I'm like, great, I'm all alone in Madrid by myself right now. Okay, so I make it on the metro just fine, and I finally get to my metro stop where I'm supposed to be, and it's a smaller metro stop, so there was no elevators or escalators, and I had like 70 pounds of luggage, and I was like, oh, wow, this is going to be great walking up 3 flights of stairs by myself. And actually, it was amazing because it was my first day in Madrid, and this gentleman came over and helped me pick up my bags and carried them to the top for me. And I was just so flustered and overwhelmed. The only thing I could get out was gracias. And I didn't even have my Madrid accent, because in Madrid you don't say gracias, you say gracias, with a lisp. So I'm sure they're like, oh, look at this silly tourist, she has no idea what she's doing. So then I get outside of the metro hole, it pops up, and I realize, well, I'm at the right metro stop, and I have the address to my homestay. However, I don't know how to get from my metro stop to my homestay. So I was just so exhausted at this point. There was a bench out at the top, and I just sat on the bench with my luggage, and I literally was like, well, what do I do? And I was like, oh, I'll just look it up on my iPhone. I got this. And I was like, no, my iPhone does not work in Madrid. So I was just kind of sitting there, and I was just, at this point, a little bit overwhelmed. All of kind of those little fears were definitely on the forefront of my mind. I can't talk to anyone. I'm all alone. It's not like I can call my mom and be like, hey, Mom, how do I get from here to there? I was literally I've never felt so isolated. But I'm sitting on this bench just kind of looking around and being like, I'm in Madrid. I don't know what to do next with my luggage. And I had done a lot of research on Google Maps. So I was like, oh, look, there's the park that I knew that was close to near my house. Here's some roads. And at first I tried to pretend I was going to walk there and I knew where I was going, but I really didn't. And the map they had by the metro was just a metro map. So I decided at that point to catch a taxi from my metro stop to my homestay, which was literally 3 blocks away. So I was very happy, and I get out of the taxi, and the taxi cab driver, of course, only speaks Spanish. So thankfully, I'd written down the address, so I could just show him. And I get out, and he's like, okay, because it was one-way roads, and he's like, okay, yours is right up the street, but he's telling me in Spanish, but he was being very patient with me since I wasn't really understanding. And I have all my luggage, and I'm walking up, and I knew it was number 38, and I lived really towards the inside of Madrid as the city, so all of the the flats, houses kind of thing, they all go up. So the number is just a small width-wise, and it all goes up. So at first I'm walking, I'm reading the numbers, and all of a sudden it's 42. And I'm okay, I must have passed it. So I'm walking back down the sidewalk. I think I walked back up and down the same spot 3 times. I'm sure the people on the street were like, what is going on? What is she doing? And I have like bright pink luggage, and they're probably like, ha ha ha. But eventually, all of a sudden, this man comes up to me and asks if I was like, he only spoke Spanish too, but my house mom's name was Rosa, and he's like, oh, like, are you the girl with Rosa? And I knew what girl was in Spanish and everything, and I'm like, yes, I am. Oh, this is weird. This guy knows who I'm coming to see. He's like, oh, no worries, no worries. He was like showing me like, this is where you're supposed to go. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll trust you. Like, let's go inside. So I walk on in with the doorman, and he was like really nice, and I was just kind of like, I really hope you're the doorman. And we get in this little tiny elevator, and we go up because I lived on the 4th floor. And I get in, we ring the doorbell, and I'm like, well, I mean, this seems fine. This is the address. I'm sure it's all good. And my house mom comes out. Her name was Rose, and she gives me a big hug, and it's really great. And she brings in my luggage, and I'm just so tired. I really just thought I was going to die. And she just like, is like, oh, now we're going to talk in Spanish, and I'm going to tell you all about the house. And I was like, yay. So she sits me down, and she's talking all like the different rules and how everything works in the house. And but like I was getting it for the most part, and she was writing the Spanish words because I, at that point, was still better like reading than listening. And I had like not understood like the last few sentences she said, and I could tell she was getting a little frustrated. So then we got to like turning on and off the lights, and she like walks over. She like points at the switch, and she's like, la luz, and I was like, yes, I know what that word means, of course. And I just thought to myself, oh, she must think I'm an idiot. Like, how am I going to talk with this girl who's living in my house for the next 3 months? So I finally get all situated. I get in my room, and I'm just like, well, I made it, but now what do? So I waited for other people's flights that came in that day, and kind of was just like, got everything organized. And I was thinking to myself, I was unpacking, what will these next 3 months entail? This was already such an adventure of a day with so many obstacles. I had already traveled quite a bit by myself, experienced the metro system, the taxis, and already had interactions with 3 different Spaniards, all in one day. And it was by like 9 a.m. in the morning there at Madrid, so a lot for one day. And I was thinking, wow, these 3 months, it seems like it's such a long period of time. Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to be okay by myself? So all these things go through my mind. And now, all of a sudden, before I know it, I'm at the end of my trip. We are 2.5 months in, and I'm sitting in Madrid, and I'm like, wait, my date to leave is coming. And I went to one of my favorite places in Madrid. It's actually this park right here. It's called Retiro. And this was the park I actually saw when I came out of my metro stop, and I had no clue where I was. I actually saw this park, like, because it's a huge park, like one side of it. And so one afternoon, it was a couple weeks before I had to leave Madrid, I go to the park by myself after class, and I sat in like my favorite area of the park, and this park is huge. It is comparable to Central Park, only I personally think it's even more beautiful. It's a gorgeous park. So I go and sit in my favorite spot, and I'm just kind of sitting there. I'm observing the different Spaniards in the park, because that was one of my favorite things to do is people watch. And I was thinking to myself, like what everything I'd done these past 2.5 months, what I'd accomplished, what I had seen, what I had experienced, and the people I'd met and the friendships I'd cultivated. And as I sat there, I all of a sudden came back to that first day in Madrid when I traveled here, and I was like, wow, I really felt so isolated, I felt so scared, and it was really such a big challenge. And now I'm sitting in this park feeling like I own the city. Like, I could tell you wherever you need to go in Madrid. I talk to locals, like, it's not a problem. I mean, I'm not fluent in Spanish, but the fear was gone. I always gave my best effort. I traveled all the time. I went to the stores, and I sat there thinking, all of those fears I had before I left for Madrid, and that day, my first day being there, I had not only faced them, but I had conquered them. They were fears that I met and just plowed right over. And just taking that and applying that back, now that I'm in Gainesville, well, one, we all speak English, so no matter what I do, I'm like, well, I have to go talk to this person. They might be intimidating, but at least they speak English, so that's the good news. And what I learned from that trip in those 3 months there, it's been a complete transfer here. Now I'm able to speak in front of a group of people, and it really doesn't give me much anxiety like it did before, because, well, I spent all summer talking to other people in a foreign language and speaking in front of my class in Spanish. Also, recruiters now, I talk with my friends and they're also scared, and I'm just like, it's not a big deal. You can always talk with someone and just make it work. And I have to say, having the language challenge like I did in Spain makes coming over here and doing any interactions in English seem like a piece of cake, but really. And one other thing I reflected on while I was sitting in the park that day, as I looked across the park, I looked at the different Spaniards and how they were interacting, and I was thinking to myself how much I'd kind of embraced the culture and tried to do as many Spanish things as I could while I was there. And And I was thinking how my priorities and my ideas on how I wanted to live my life had also changed. In Spain, they're very much about the people that you're with and your relationships, while in America, we're very much like, this is my to-do list, like this is the job I want, these are my tasks. In Spain, it's very much like, I work, yeah, that's what I do, but these are the people I'm with, these are my family members, that kind of thing. So as I sat in the park and I kind of watched the different people interact, I was like, when I come back to the United States, I'm taking those new skills and the new habits I'd formed while in Spain, and I'm bringing them back with me. I decided that when I came back, as I know we're all business kids, we're very goal-oriented, I was not only going to continue trying to meet my goals, but I was always going to make time for my friends and family because I realized how important it was. And it really does make you happier. Because you could tell the people in Spain, like, it's 20% unemployment, like, they're not doing very well economically-wise. The families are still happy, the people are still happy to be with each other. And that was kind of like my biggest takeaway socially from studying abroad, was that it was a new way of looking at life. And I found that I could have never, ever, ever seen or experienced staying in America. You hear things like that, you know, you hear put your friends first, but you don't really understand it until you see an actual culture based on it, and you realize the benefits that come from it. And then from the professional standpoint, as I touched on already, the confidence. The confidence that you gain being in another country for 3 months, it really makes you feel like anything here is not nearly as difficult. So I truly hope that if you guys have the opportunity and plan ahead, you take the time and you make it happen to study abroad. Because not only will you have a lot of fun, which I know you hear all the time with study abroad, you will grow as a person and you'll be able to take back valuable skills and characteristics back to the States. And not only does it help you with recruiters and getting a job, but it also helps you as improving your quality of life and as a person in general. So I hope if you guys get the opportunity to study abroad, and Madrid's the best, but I mean there are a lot of great choices as well.
Woo! Woo!